There's a specific moment in everyone's life when everything could change. It's not dramatic. There's no lightning bolt from heaven. It's just you standing there, finally asking yourself the question that matters. Am I really giving this life everything I've got, or am I just pretending? I was 25 years old, broke and embarrassed. I had a family to feed, promises I'd made, dreams I'd talked about at parties, and absolutely nothing to show for any of it. My bank account was a joke. My prospects were worse. And the hardest part, I had nobody to blame but myself. That's when it hit me. The problem wasn't the economy. It wasn't my boss. It wasn't my circumstances or my education or where I grew up. The problem was that I wasn't taking myself seriously. I was treating my life like a dress rehearsal, like the real show would start someday when conditions were perfect. But here's what I learned that day. There is no dress rehearsal. This is it. And if you don't take yourself seriously, nobody else will either. Most people walk through life like they're waiting for permission. Permission to start that business. Permission to ask for the raise. Permission to become the person they've always known they could be. They're living in this strange middle ground where they're not quite failing, but definitely not winning. They show up, they go through the motions, they complain about the results, and then they do the exact same things tomorrow. It's like watching someone play a sport without keeping score. What's the point if you're not serious about it? The truth is, most people treat themselves like extras in someone else's movie. They're in the background, watching the main characters take risks and achieve things and live boldly, while they stand there thinking, that's nice for them, but here's what they don't understand. You are the main character in your life. You're the star of this show. And if you're not taking that role seriously, you're wasting the one shot you've got. Think about how you treat things you take seriously versus things you don't. When something matters to you, really matters, you show up differently. You prepare. You practice. You improve. You don't make excuses. If you're serious about your health, you don't skip workouts when you don't feel like it. If you're serious about your marriage, you don't ignore your spouse for weeks and expect everything to be fine. If you're serious about building wealth, you don't spend Friday nights watching television instead of reading books that could change your financial future. The level of seriousness you bring determines the level of results you get. It's that simple. But taking yourself seriously costs something. It costs comfort. It costs the approval of people who want you to stay small so they don't have to face their own mediocrity. It costs late nights and early mornings. It costs saying no to things that feel good now but steal from your future. And that's exactly why most people never do it. They want the results that come from serious effort without the seriousness itself. They want the harvest without planting the seeds, the trophy without training, the applause without the performance. I remember watching successful people when I finally decided to change my life. Not just watching what they did, but how they carried themselves. There was something different about them. They had this quiet confidence that came from keeping promises to themselves. When they said they'd do something, they did it. When they set a goal, they worked on it every single day until it was done. They didn't need anyone to remind them or motivate them or check up on them. They were serious people living serious lives, and the world responded accordingly. The years I wasted before that realization still bother me sometimes. Not because I can get them back, but because I think about who I could have been if I'd started sooner. 25 years old and finally waking up. Some people never wake up at all. They go to their graves with their music still inside them, as someone once said. All that potential, all those possibilities, buried because they never took themselves seriously enough to do something about it. Here's the thing about not taking yourself seriously. The cost compounds. Every day you're not serious about your growth is a day you fall further behind. Every week you spend making excuses is a week someone else is making progress. Every month you waste treating your life casually is a month you'll never get back. Time is the one resource you can't renew, and every moment you're not taking yourself seriously is a moment you're throwing away. When you look around at people sleepwalking through life, it's painful if you really pay attention. They're capable of so much more, but they've convinced themselves that mediocre is acceptable. They've made peace with less than they could be. They've negotiated with their potential and settled for a fraction of what's possible. And the worst part? They defend it. They'll give you 100 reasons why they can't, why it's not the right time, why their situation is different. But what they're really saying is, I don't take myself seriously enough to do what it takes. Nobody else can take your life seriously for you. Your mother can't do it, your spouse can't do it, your friends can't do it. This is on you. And until you look yourself in the mirror and make the decision that from this day forward, you're going to treat yourself like someone who matters, like someone with enormous potential, like someone worthy of success and happiness and achievement, nothing changes. The decision to take yourself seriously is the decision that changes everything else. I've seen people transform their entire lives in a matter of years once they made this shift. Not because they suddenly became smarter or luckier or more talented, but because they started showing up for themselves the way they'd been showing up for everyone else. They stopped making excuses and started making progress. They stopped waiting for perfect conditions and started working with what they had. They stopped treating their dreams like hobbies and started treating them like the serious business of living a meaningful life. Success begins the day you take yourself seriously, because that's the day you stop betraying your own potential. That's the day you stop lying to yourself about what you're capable of. That's the day you start keeping the promises you make to yourself. That's the day you begin building the life you've always known was possible but weren't quite committed enough to create. Everything starts there, with that decision, with that shift in how you see yourself and what you're willing to demand from yourself. And once you make that decision, really make it. There's no going back to the person you used to be. So what does it actually look like when you take yourself seriously? It starts with something so simple that most people overlook it completely. Keeping the promises you make to yourself. Not the promises you make to your boss or your clients or your family. Those are important, sure, but I'm talking about the promises you make when nobody's watching. The promise to read for 30 minutes before bed, the promise to save 10% of your income, the promise to exercise 3 times this week. Those quiet commitments reveal everything about whether you truly respect yourself. Most people are excellent at keeping promises to others and terrible at keeping promises to themselves. They'll show up on time for everyone else but run late on their own goals. They'll work overtime for their employer but won't spend an hour working on their own future. They'll go to extraordinary lengths to avoid disappointing someone else while disappointing themselves every single day. And then they wonder why their life isn't working out the way they hoped. The answer is right there in their daily habits. Your habits are a mirror showing you exactly how seriously you take yourself. When I started paying attention to successful people, really paying attention, I noticed they had this iron discipline about small things. They didn't just keep the big commitments, they kept all of them. If they said they'd be somewhere at 9 o'clock, they were there at 8:55. If they said they'd call you back, your phone rang. If they committed to learning something new, they studied it until they mastered it. Nothing was casual. Nothing was whenever I get around to it. Everything was deliberate, intentional, serious. And that's when I understood discipline isn't about willpower or being tough on yourself. It's about respect. They respected themselves too much to break their own word. The small commitments matter more than people think. Being on time isn't about the clock. It's about telling yourself that your word means something. Finishing what you start isn't about the task. It's about proving to yourself that you're reliable. Reading every day isn't just about gathering information. It's about honoring the commitment you made to your own growth. Each small promise kept builds your confidence in yourself. Each promise broken erodes it. And over time, you become either someone who trusts yourself completely or someone who doesn't believe a word you say. This isn't about motivation. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. Some days you feel it, most days you don't. Taking yourself seriously means you show up regardless of how you feel. It's an identity shift. You're no longer the person who does things when inspired. You're the person who does things because that's who you are now. The person who exercises doesn't need to feel motivated to go to the gym. They go because they're a person who exercises. The person who reads doesn't wait for the mood to strike. They read because they're a person who values learning. See the difference? One is based on feelings, the other on identity. When you start taking yourself seriously, everything changes. Your health changes because you stop eating whatever's convenient and start eating what serves your body. Your finances change because you stop spending based on impulse and start investing based on goals. Your relationships change because you stop tolerating people who drain your energy and start surrounding yourself with people who elevate you. It's not that you become a different person. You just become the version of yourself that was always supposed to show up. But here's where people get uncomfortable. Taking yourself seriously means looking at your results honestly. If you're not healthy, it's because you haven't taken your health seriously. If you're broke, it's because you haven't taken your finances seriously. That's a hard pill to swallow because it removes all your excuses. You can't blame your metabolism or the economy or other people anymore. You have to accept that your results reflect your level of seriousness. I watch people all the time who treat important things casually and then act surprised when they get casual results. They'll spend more time planning a vacation than planning their financial future. They'll research a new phone for hours but won't read a single book about improving their marriage. They'll worry about what everyone thinks about them but won't do the work to become someone worth thinking about. It's backwards. The things that matter most should get your best effort your deepest focus, your most serious attention. Here's something that changed my life when I finally understood it. There's a massive difference between trying and committing. When you're trying, you're giving yourself permission to fail. Well, I tried becomes your safety net. But when you commit, failure isn't an option. You'll find a way, because you have to find a way. The language matters. I'll try to save money this month is completely different from I'm saving $500 this month, no matter what. One leaves room for excuses. The other leaves room only for results. Serious people don't try, they commit. The standards you set for yourself become your reality. If your standard is to be on time, you'll be on time. If your standard is close enough, that's what you'll get. If your standard is excellence, you'll find ways to achieve it. If your standard is mediocre, you'll settle there. Most people never consciously choose their standards. They just accept whatever standards the people around them have. But when you take yourself seriously, you set your own standards based on who you want to become, not based on what everyone else is doing. Think about the most successful people you know personally. Watch how they treat their word. If they tell you they'll do something, consider it done. They don't overpromise and underdeliver. They don't make commitments lightly. And when they do commit, they follow through, even when it's inconvenient, even when they don't feel like it, even when nobody would blame them for backing out. That's not just integrity, that's self-respect. They respect themselves too much to be someone whose word doesn't mean anything. Now look at how they treat their time. They don't waste it. They don't spend 3 hours scrolling through social media or watching shows they don't even enjoy. They're intentional about every hour because they understand something crucial. Time is life. When you waste time, you waste life. Serious people protect their time like it's their most valuable asset, because it is. They say no to things that don't serve their goals. They eliminate activities that don't add value. They're ruthless about guarding what matters most. And watch how they treat their personal development. They're always learning, always growing, always improving. They read books. They attend seminars. They find mentors. They invest in themselves without hesitation because they know the best investment they'll ever make is in their own capabilities. They don't wait until they can afford it. They can afford it because they made it a priority. $500 for a course that could change their income forever? They find the money. An hour a day to study something new? They find the time. It's not about resources. It's about seriousness. The painful truth is this: you can't have a casual approach to important things and expect serious results. You can't casually pursue wealth and become wealthy. You can't casually work on your health and become healthy. You can't casually build a business and build a successful business. The level of commitment has to match the size of the goal. Small goals, small commitment. Big goals, total commitment. And if your goals are big but your commitment is small, you're just daydreaming. When you truly take yourself seriously, you become someone you can count on. You become your own best friend instead of your own worst enemy. You stop sabotaging yourself with poor choices. You stop breaking promises to yourself and then wondering why you don't have confidence. You build a track record of following through, and that track record becomes the foundation of everything else you achieve. Because here's the secret: you can't build anything meaningful on a foundation of broken promises and casual effort. Self-respect is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of that. Once you start taking yourself seriously, something fascinating happens. The world around you begins to shift. It's not magic, it's just that you become a different person, and different people attract different circumstances. The opportunities that show up, the people who enter your life, the doors that open, all of it changes because you changed first. When you're serious about your life, you stop attracting casual people and casual opportunities. You start attracting other serious people who recognize something in you that matches something in them. I'll never forget when I made my own shift. Within 6 months, my entire circle of friends had changed. Not because I abandoned anyone or became arrogant, but because I was spending my evenings reading and working on my goals while they were spending theirs complaining and watching television. I was investing in courses and seminars while they were investing in new cars they couldn't afford. I was asking different questions, having different conversations, pursuing different activities. We simply grew apart because we were heading in different directions. It wasn't personal. It was natural. Some people in your life will resist your transformation. They'll mock your new habits. They'll call you obsessed or say you've changed. And they're right, you have changed. But understand what's really happening. Your growth makes them uncomfortable because it holds up a mirror to their own lack of seriousness. When you're improving and they're not, it forces them to confront questions they'd rather avoid. So they try to pull you back down to where you were, not because they don't love you, but because your old self was easier for them to be around. Your new self requires them to either grow themselves or get left behind. This is where a lot of people quit. They can't handle losing relationships, even relationships that were holding them back. They'd rather stay stuck with familiar people than grow with unfamiliar ones. But here's what I learned. The people who are meant to be in your life will celebrate your growth, not resent it. The right people will cheer you on, ask you questions about what you're learning, maybe even join you on the path. The wrong people will try to convince you that you're changing for the worse. Trust me on this. Let them go. Your future is more important than their comfort. Now let's talk about money, because taking yourself seriously has enormous economic implications. When you're serious about your value, you stop accepting whatever someone offers to pay you. You start developing skills that make you worth more. You stop trading time for money in ways that keep you broke and start creating value in ways that build wealth. I've watched people double and triple their income within a few years of taking their financial education seriously. Not because they got lucky, because they finally treated their earning potential like something worth developing instead of something fixed and unchangeable. The compound effect is real, and it's spectacular when you apply it. Say you commit to reading 30 minutes every day. That's 3.5 hours a week, about 15 hours a month, roughly 180 hours a year. Do you know how many books you can read in 180 hours? How much knowledge you can acquire? How many ideas you can implement? Now multiply that by 5 years, by 10 years. The gap between you and someone who doesn't read becomes enormous. Not because you're smarter, but because you were serious about learning and they weren't. The same principle applies to everything. Small amounts of serious, consistent effort compound into extraordinary results over time. Save $100 a week, invest it properly, and in 20 years you could have $250,000. Work on your craft for 1 hour every single day, and in 5 years you'll be in the top 10% of your field. Study leadership principles for 20 minutes each morning, and within a year you'll be the person everyone wants on their team. It's not complicated. It's just that most people won't stay serious long enough to see the compound effect work its magic. When you take your education seriously, and I mean really seriously, you become dangerous in the marketplace. You become someone who knows things other people don't know. You can solve problems other people can't solve. You can see opportunities other people can't see. And the marketplace rewards that, always. If you're not earning what you want to earn, the question isn't whether you deserve more. The question is whether you've made yourself worth more. Have you invested in your skills? Have you studied your industry? Have you learned from people who've already achieved what you want to achieve? Or have you just been showing up, doing the minimum, and hoping someone notices your potential? Your children notice when you take yourself seriously. They may not say anything, but they're watching. When they see you read, they learn that learning matters. When they see you keep your commitments, they learn that integrity matters. When they see you work on your goals consistently, they learn that discipline matters. You're not just building your own life, you're teaching them how to build theirs. The greatest gift you can give the next generation isn't money or opportunities. It's the example of someone who took themselves seriously enough to create a life worth living. If you're running a business or leading a team, people can sense whether you're serious or just playing around. Employees know if their leader is committed or just hoping things work out. Customers know if you're genuinely trying to serve them or just trying to make a sale. Partners know if you're in it for the long haul or just until something better comes along, and they respond accordingly. Serious leaders attract serious team members. Serious businesses attract serious customers. Serious partners attract serious collaborations. It's a law as reliable as gravity. Here's the distinction that changes everything: wishing versus planning. Most people wish for things. They wish they were healthier. They wish they had more money. They wish their relationships were better. But wishing is not serious. Planning is serious. Serious people don't wish. They plan. They set specific goals, break them down into daily actions, track their progress, and adjust their approach based on results. They have written plans with deadlines and milestones. They know exactly what they need to do this week, this month, this quarter to move closer to what they want. Show me your plan, and I'll tell you how serious you are. Taking yourself seriously also means taking feedback seriously. When someone who's achieved what you want to achieve gives you advice, you don't defend yourself or make excuses. You listen. You consider it. You implement it. I've seen people throw away golden opportunities for growth because they couldn't handle honest feedback. Their ego was too fragile to hear the truth about where they were falling short. But serious people have strong egos in the right way. They're secure enough to hear criticism without falling apart. They want to know where they're weak because they want to get stronger. The courage this requires can't be overstated. It takes real courage to look honestly at your results and say, these results are telling me something about my approach and I need to change. It's much easier to blame external factors, to say the game is rigged, to convince yourself that you're doing fine and everyone else is just lucky. But that's what unserious people do. They protect their ego at the expense of their progress. Serious people protect their progress at the expense of their ego. They'd rather face uncomfortable truths and improve than feel comfortable and stay stuck. The ripple effect keeps expanding. When you take yourself seriously, you start taking other people seriously too. You stop wasting their time. You show up prepared for meetings. You honor your agreements. You bring value to every interaction. And guess what happens? People want to work with you. They want to help you. They want to be around you, because serious people are rare, and everyone wants them on their team, in their business, in their life. Over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, the distance between someone who takes themselves seriously and someone who doesn't becomes almost impossible to measure. One builds wealth, relationships, health, and meaning. The other wonders why life is so hard, why opportunities never come, why they can never seem to get ahead. The difference isn't talent or luck or background. The difference is seriousness. One person treated their life like it mattered. The other treated it like a casual hobby they'd get to someday. And someday, as we all know, never comes. When you truly take yourself seriously, you stop seeing yourself as just someone earning a living. You're designing a life. There's a massive difference. Earning a living is about survival, about getting by, about making it to the weekend. Designing a life is about intention, about creation, about building something that reflects who you are and what you value. Most people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they spend planning their entire life. They drift from year to year, hoping things get better, wondering why they feel unfulfilled. But hoping isn't a strategy. Drifting isn't a plan. If you're serious about your life, you design it deliberately. At the center of taking yourself seriously is personal responsibility. Not partial responsibility where you take credit for the wins and blame circumstances for the losses. Total responsibility for everything. Your income, your health, your relationships, your happiness, your results. All of it. This is where most people stop. They want the benefits of taking themselves seriously without accepting responsibility for where they are. But you can't have one without the other. The moment you accept complete responsibility for your life is the moment you become powerful. Because if you're responsible for where you are, that means you have the power to change it. I remember the day I stopped blaming anything or anyone for my situation. I was 25, broke, and embarrassed, as I mentioned earlier. But the real breakthrough wasn't realizing I was broke. It was realizing that I had created that situation through 1,000 small choices. Nobody forced me to skip reading. Nobody made me waste my evenings. Nobody mandated that I ignore opportunities to learn and grow. I did that. And as painful as that realization was, it was also liberating, because if I created this mess, I could create something better. The power was mine all along. I just hadn't been serious enough to use it. Blaming keeps you powerless. When it's the economy's fault, you can't fix it. When it's your boss's fault, you're stuck. When it's your circumstances or your past or your lack of advantages, there's nothing you can do but complain. But the moment you say, my results are my responsibility, everything changes. Now you can take action. Now you can make different choices. Now you have power. Serious people understand this. They don't waste time blaming, because blame doesn't solve anything. They take responsibility, because responsibility creates options. So what do you do today, right now? First, look at your morning. How you start your day reveals how serious you are about your life. Successful people don't roll out of bed and stumble through their morning reacting to whatever comes their way. They have routines. They wake up early. They exercise or meditate or read or plan their day. They take control of their morning instead of letting their morning control them. If you want to take yourself seriously, start here. Design a morning routine that prepares you mentally, physically, and emotionally for the day ahead. Then follow it. Every single day. No exceptions. No excuses. Second, write down your goals. Not someday, today. Get specific. Not I want to be wealthy, but I will have a net worth of $500,000 by December 2030. Not I want to be healthier, but I will weigh 170 pounds and run 3 miles without stopping by June 2026. Serious people have written goals with deadlines. Unserious people have vague wishes without time frames. The act of writing forces clarity. Clarity forces commitment. Commitment forces action. Third, Invest in yourself without hesitation. Buy the book, take the course, hire the coach, attend the seminar, whatever it costs. It's less than the cost of staying where you are. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my own education over the years, and it's the best money I've ever spent. Not because every book or course or seminar changed my life, but because the cumulative effect of continuous learning transformed who I am. Serious people invest in themselves first. They don't wait until they have extra money. They make the money by investing in themselves. Fourth, find accountability. You need someone who will ask you the hard questions. Someone who won't let you make excuses. Someone who cares enough about your success to tell you when you're slacking off. This could be a mentor, a coach, a business partner, or a friend who's also committed to growth. But you need someone, because it's too easy to lie to yourself when nobody's watching. Accountability keeps you honest. Fifth, measure your progress. What gets measured gets improved. Track your finances. Track your health metrics. Track how many books you read, how many calls you make, how many hours you invest in your craft. Numbers don't lie. Feelings lie all the time. You'll feel like you're working hard, but the numbers will show you the truth. Serious people track their numbers because they want truth, not comfortable delusions. This isn't just about building wealth or achieving success, though those things will come. This is about living in a way that honors the potential you were given. Every person has enormous potential, absolutely enormous. But most people take that potential to their grave because they never took themselves seriously enough to develop it. They had the seeds but never planted them. They had the tools but never learned to use them. They had the time but wasted it on things that didn't matter. The urgency of this can't be overstated. You're getting older every single day, and you can't get those days back. You can regret them, but you can't reclaim them. So the question is simple. Are you going to take yourself seriously starting today? Or are you going to keep drifting and hope things somehow work out? Because they won't work out on their own. They never do. Success doesn't find casual people. It finds serious people. People who've decided that their life matters, their goals matter, their growth matters. Success is waiting for you right now. It's been waiting for you all along, but it will only reveal itself to someone who shows up as worthy of it. Someone who keeps their word. Someone who does the work. Someone who takes themselves seriously enough to do what it takes for as long as it takes. Today can be the day everything changes, but only if you decide it is. Only if you look yourself in the mirror and make the commitment that from this moment forward, you're done playing small. You're done making excuses. You're done being casual about things that matter. Starting today, you take yourself seriously, and when you do, everything else will follow.